Travis, where are you? We need to have a conversation. My wife's voice echoed through the house as she entered through the front door, accompanied by another presence. Aware of my presence due to my car parked in the driveway, she sought me out. I'm upstairs. I'll be down momentarily, I responded, hastily closing the suitcase sprawled out on the bed. Why are you home so early? She inquired upon entering the bedroom, her gaze falling on the packed suitcase. And why are you packing? Oh, I received a call from a potential client. There's an urgent matter, so I left work to prepare. I have to catch a flight in a couple of hours. I apologize for not informing you earlier, but this opportunity arose suddenly. I need to act fast before it slips away, I explained. Ah, I see. Well, I hope you can spare a few minutes because I really need to talk to you, she said, her tone serious. Of course I have some time, I assured her, grabbing my suitcase and following her downstairs. We proceeded into the kitchen and settled around the table. To my surprise, another man was present, Mike Robinson, a lawyer from the firm where my wife worked. Recognizing him, I poured myself a cup of coffee brewed earlier and took a seat. Travis, there's no easy way to say this, so I'll be direct, my wife began, her tone solemn. Mike and I have developed feelings for each other. I no longer love you, and I want a divorce. We've already initiated the paperwork, and here's your copy. All right, I replied calmly, processing her words. I don't see the point in resisting. If it's over between us, then it's over. Can I take a look at the paperwork? It's better to expedite things. Depending on how this upcoming trip pans out, I might be tied up for the next few months. Perhaps Mike could arrange for a notary to finalize everything before I depart. Travis, I'm impressed by your maturity in handling this situation. I half expected a heated argument. I apologize for blindsiding you like this, but I agree it's best to address it head-on and move forward. My wife acknowledged, a hint of relief in her tone. Well, given what you've said, it seems futile to resist, I replied thoughtfully. Let's take a look at the paperwork. I took a moment to review the division of assets. All right, there's one adjustment I'd like to propose. Regarding spousal support, I'm curious about that. You have a decent job yourself. Why are you requesting $2,000 a month? I questioned. We researched it and calculated based on our incomes. You actually earn about 4 times what I do, so the court's formula arrived at that figure, she explained. I see. The only concern I have is that there are significant changes looming within my company. I'd prefer not to revisit court proceedings to renegotiate this. How about we modify it to a fair percentage of my income? Let's say 25%. That should actually give you more, considering my last paycheck, and it'll adjust automatically with changes in my salary, I suggested. Wow, that's incredibly generous of you, and it's definitely a smart move. Okay, Mike will make that adjustment, and we'll all initial it, my wife acknowledged, a sense of gratitude evident in her voice. Well, you've given me an amazing 10 years, so it's only fair to reciprocate. Now, about your request for 60% ownership of the business. Considering you're not involved in its day-to-day operations, I'm hesitant to relinquish control. How about we adjust that to 49%? After all, I'm the driving force behind its success, and to compensate, we can amend the investment split to give you 80% of the current investments. I'm confident I can rebuild what I'm sacrificing, I proposed. All right, that sounds fair to me. As long as I can keep the house. I adore this place, she insisted. I'm okay with that. In fact, I'll be so engrossed in work that I won't have time for our beach house. I'm not much of a beach person anyway. How about we rephrase it to state that I'll transfer my share of all our current properties? I might just opt for a low-maintenance condo somewhere, I suggested. Travis, I'm truly amazed by your generosity, she remarked. Well, like I said, I'll be too preoccupied to fully enjoy the properties, and I'm confident I can rebuild my portfolio, I assured her. All right, let's discuss child support. Personally, I think the amount specified here is a bit low, and there's no provision for adjusting it as my income increases. I want to ensure that my kids are well provided for. How about we amend this to state that 25% of all my income in this country goes towards child support. This way, it not only covers my earnings from work, but also any other income I receive from investments here. Additionally, since you'll be the custodial parent, it makes sense for them to be on your insurance, I suggested. Okay, that sounds reasonable. I'll have David log onto the Wi-Fi and print out the new documents. We can sign and notarize them, then David can take them down to get filed. Thank you, Travis. You've handled this situation with a lot of maturity, and I appreciate it, my wife acknowledged gratefully. The documents were printed, the notary arrived, and we signed the papers. I grabbed my suitcase and headed off to the airport. 1 month had passed, and the sound of my ringtone stirred me from a light doze on the sandy shores of Cabo. Without needing to glance at the caller ID, I knew exactly who was on the other end of the line. Hello, Angelina. What brings you to call me today? Was my generosity insufficient? I quipped, answering the call on speaker to spare myself from holding the phone to my ear. You deceitful scoundrel. You despicable jerk. I don't know how you pulled it off, but you won't get away with this. Angelina's voice seethed with anger. Why? Whatever could you be referring to, my dear? I responded with feigned innocence. Don't play dumb with me. There's a truck parked outside this house, and the deputy sheriff is here serving eviction papers. Well, naturally, the previous owners would require you and your boyfriend to vacate the premises before they can take possession, I explained calmly. But you transferred the house to me. Who are these new owners you speak of? I am the rightful owner, Angelina protested vehemently. Well, technically speaking, that's not entirely accurate. What I transferred to you were the properties we owned at the time the divorce papers were finalized. However, by that point, we hadn't owned any property for over 3 months, and since your name wasn't on the deeds, I didn't require your signature to sell them. Even the beach house, Angelina's voice trembled with disbelief. I did mention I wasn't much of a beach person, didn't I? I replied matter-of-factly. You heartless bastard, where are you? We need to meet to finalize the paperwork so I can claim my share of the company. Ah, well, about that, I hesitated, bracing for her reaction. You didn't. Angelina's tone dropped to a whisper filled with dread. About 6 months ago, actually. I've only been managing it for the new owners on a salary until they got settled. Truth be told, I stopped working there altogether a week prior to our last conversation. Then that means, Angelina trailed off, realization sinking in. No salary means no maintenance, I confirmed, feeling a pang of guilt despite myself. But what about the kids? You promised you'd take care of them. Angelina's voice quivered with concern. Absolutely not. What I meant was that I'm committed to looking after my own children. Since I'm not their biological father, I don't feel any obligation to care for them. You might want to discuss financial support with Deborah and Joseph, their actual parents. DNA plays quite a role, doesn't it? Well, at least I've got my savings and investments. She trailed off as my laughter became uncontrollable. Let me guess, she sighed. That's all vanished too. I've actually moved all of that into the offshore account I established after selling the business. Good luck tracing any of it. We'll let the court decide on that matter. Best of luck with that. I provided everything precisely as stipulated in the documents you signed and had notarized. You received 49% of all the businesses I owned at the time of signing. You received all the property we owned at the time of signing. You received your share of my income at the time of signing. The child support is precisely 20% of my income in the United States of America. It's not my responsibility if you never bothered to verify whether I still owned a business, had any property, or actually had income at that time. I never claimed any of those things. You're receiving exactly what you're entitled to. What do you mean? I supported you and was your wife for 10 years. I deserve more than nothing. Are you serious? You've been cheating on me for at least the past 5 years. The moment I left, you moved your latest fling in. You're unfaithful, and you deserve nothing. Oh, and I'd filed a lawsuit against your company too. Turns out they have a morality clause in their employee handbook that prohibits affairs between coworkers. Those videotapes I sent of you getting intimate in the conference room should ensure both of you get fired. Moreover, the ethics committee is probing him because they somehow got evidence of him engaging in a sexual relationship with a client while representing her. He could end up disbarred because of that. It's quite a predicament, considering he won't simply be able to jump to another law firm or open his own after being fired. Darn, I need to reach David. Don't bother. He won't pick up. What do you mean? I've heard he was the victim of a violent mugging. He's probably in an ambulance on his way to Mercy General right now. Maybe it's time for you to consider finding a new boyfriend. Oh my goodness. Not even close. Although the Latina beauty line next to me right now often says the same thing, usually while we're both naked. The call ended shortly after. My Latina companion woke from her nap and suggested we return to the enclosed cabana, where clothing was optional. I had rewarded her with this trip for keeping me informed about my wife's activities. She had called earlier to inform me that the divorce papers had been filed and they were planning to confront me that evening. After leaving the law firm, she went home to pack, and we met at the airport before flying to Cabo together. In another 2 days, we would head to Costa Rica, where there's a sizable expat community and one can live lavishly for less. Thank you for watching this video to the end. If you liked it, please like it and subscribe to the channel. See you soon.